Hello friends, this is Dr. Urmi Satyan from Pandit Deendayal, Energy University. For today's virtual lecture, I have selected Beloved, a novel by the African-American novelist Toni Morrison. This novel is about 124 and its residents. 124 is a house situated on Bluestone Road on the outskirts of the city of Cincinnati near the river Ohio in the US. The said fictional house 124 has scary and haunting impressions, and so the house is isolated and its residents are left to bear the intrinsic burden of fear and frustration that this house has for them. The family in 124 is isolated also because the mother in the house herself has killed her own infant daughter. The plot of this novel revolves around this mother, a middle-aged woman, Sethe. She lives in 124 with her young daughter Denver. Her mother-in-law, baby Suggs, is more in the memories than in the action of the novel. The protagonist Sethe's sons, Howard and Bugler, have run away from the house and so never appear physically in the novel. We also find one interesting character, Paul D., who used to be one of the slaves with Sethe and her husband Halle. Paul D. adds a thread of positivity to the frustrating fabric of the novel. The eponymous character Beloved is Sethe's younger daughter, whom she herself has murdered to save her from the future of atrocious slavery. This gory act of infanticide shows Sethe's divided consciousness. On one side, rage and helplessness aggravate, and she decides to neutralize her child, and on the other side, the same act shows to what extent a mother goes to protect a child from the undreamable dreams of the horrific truth of slavery. Sethe's fear for life is rooted in her gruesome experiences. She prepares herself to kill her daughter by telling Beloved that the whites will not just work, kill, or maim you, but dirty you. Dirty you so bad you will not be able to like yourself anymore. All throughout the novel, we find such heart-wrenching episodes. Morrison launches an attack of fear and filth from the very first sentence of the novel. She writes, 124 was spiteful, full of a baby's venom. The women in the house knew it, and so did the children. For years, each put up with the spite in his own way. These words catch our attention and make us curious to know more about the house and its members. These opening introductory lines give us the suffocating and frustrating impression of the house and its inhabitants. Our curiosity is not quenched but sharpened more when we read the depiction of the struggle and agony of the slave family. The storyline runs thus: Sethe, her husband Halle, their friend Paul D., and a few more are slaves at a farm named Sweet Home in Kentucky. The masters of this farm are Mr. and Mrs. Garner. They are kind and compassionate towards their slaves. But when Mr. Garner dies and Mrs. Garner falls ill, she invites her brother-in-law to take care of the farm. This new master torments the slaves by inflicting physical torture upon them. He ties the slaves with leather belts. Like mules, their ankles are chained together. He thrashes the slaves just to prove that definitions belong to the definers, not to the defined. The slaves are forced to carry out menial tasks. About the slaves' despicable condition, Paul D. says, one crazy, one sold, one missing, one burnt, and me, licking iron with my hands crossed behind me. Morrison's use of an oxymoronic sentence, life was dead, speaks about the misery and wretchedness of the slave community. Once Sethe and Hele planned to run away from sweet home. Life could have been a little easier for them if they had reached their family home 124 as per their strategy to escape. But there were many more challenges yet to come. Hele could not meet Sethe as per their plan, and so pregnant Sethe had to come alone to 124, the house that Hele's mother, Baby Suggs, had secured for her children. Sethe lives with her mother-in-law, Baby Suggs. She then gives birth to a daughter whom she names after a white girl who helped her on her way to 124. After the death of Baby Suggs, Sethe and her daughter Denver are alone at 124. And we anticipate that they will live a secure life now. But unfortunately, Sethe's past gets revived and makes her life more complicated. Sethe's dead daughter Beloved returns to 124 as an aggressive and active spirit. Beloved's presence and demanding nature corner Denver's existence. Sethe manages to deal with Beloved and her own remorseful heart. She remains addicted to the gruesome past when she herself had to kill the infant Beloved. With utter apologetic feelings, she pays more attention to the spirit of Beloved than to her living daughter Denver, and so Denver feels debarred from her mother's love and care. However, she understands her mother's agonies and manages to rescue Sethe from the haunting memories and the house as well. Both the places, Sweet Home and 124, respectively the past and the present of Sethe, have nothing but bitterness and destruction for her and her family. While Sweet Home gives her unbearable brutal injuries, her own house 124 turns out to be spiteful and venomous due to her dead daughter Beloved's spooky return. The thick flow of bad to worse experiences puts Sethe's life at stake. A series of distorting incidents like the shattering of a mirror, a little child's handprint on the cake, their kind master's death, the school teacher Mrs. Garner's brother-in-law's barbaric treatment during Sethe's enslavement, her mother-in-law Baby Suggs' death, Paul D's return with hopes for better future, Paul D's deliberate controlling of the ghost baby, and finally Sethe's breaking up with Paul D to keep alive the memory of her beloved daughter, Beloved. All these devastating incidents tear apart Sethe's life. Paul D understands this and consoles Sethe. He leans over and takes her hand. With the other, he touches her face and says, "You're best thing, Sethe, you are." And she, with less confidence in herself and more in him, asks with bewilderment, "Me? Me?" At times, Morrison gives us a feeling of reading a drama and not a novel, as she is very natural in her depiction of emotions. Sethe's natural expression, me, speaks for her satisfaction with being acknowledged for her innocent emotions and genuine actions. It also shows her congeniality and the need for warmth. Throughout her life, she struggles to find a place where one could love anything one chooses. No need to take permission for desire. That is the definition of freedom that Morrison gives us throughout the central character, through the central character Sethe. The reading of Beloved leaves its readers bewildered, with multiple tricky questions like 1. How to interpret the presence of the ghost baby? 2. Does she represent the nameless horror of slavery or the mute and timid acceptance of black women's double subjugation? 3. Why is the ghost baby introduced to us only through an adjectival noun? 4. If a murdered baby returns with her dreadful power and demanding nature, what about the thousands and lakhs of slaves who were crushed at the cruel hands of slavery? Does the spooky baby represent them? 5. Does Beloved's return indicate the curse upon House 124 or on the community at large? And lastly, why does Morrison close the novel with a repetitive utterance of, "It was not a story to pass on"? This was not a story to pass on. Yes, Morrison doesn't tell us a story to pass on. Perhaps she intends to make the history of Black life known to the world. Perhaps she wants future generations to be aware of the beastly treatment that the Black community has undergone during slave system. Morrison makes the narrative more sordid by making it woman-centric, or rather, mother-centric. Reading the novel will give you more clarity, friends. So please read and read and read. Bye for now.